Today we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic, 1991, Sega Genesis.
I think it came out right when I was really sick of Mario Brothers games. And it had perfect timing.
Sonic is basically a blue little hedgehog with a bad attitude. He's been around for a while. He's still here. He's still making games.
Believe it or not, this game was created as almost a way to introduce a new mascot to the Sega system.
Sega saw that Nintendo was really cashing in on having Mario and having these characters that people really identified with.
In an effort to keep up with Nintendo, Sega wanted to put out a game that introduced their new mascot, which was Sonic.
I mean, previous to that, what do you have? You had Alex Kidd, you had the Altered Beast duo, excellent dancers, and then you had Michael Jackson, another good dancer, but none of them really could get the kids rolling like a mascot with Tood.
You know, Michael, a little monkey dude, let's get something new on the board, shall we?
And so they wanted to create a strong character that could also be funny, and it had to really stick. So it was a huge challenge.
So Yuji Naka was the game designer on Sonic. He was a creator. He also created Choo Choo Rocket. He's one of the legends in the industry. I mean, he's one of the guys who creates a flagship title that an entire company will base its existence upon.
Sonic was created to be the anti-Mario. He's everything Mario's not. Mario's this fat, stocky plumber. Sonic, he's Fonzie. He's fast. You can't stop him. He's cool. He's hip.
So on one hand, you have Nintendo, you got Super Mario and his brother, and they're like the working class plumber dude with the overalls. And then you've got Sonic, who's like the blue-headed stepchild, who's like the rebel, and I got sneakers on, and don't get my way, I'll run right over you.
I don't think anyone ever thought, oh, Mario, what a cool guy. Sonic was cool, and Sonic was faster, and I think people, liked that shift.
Yeah, he's got like a mohawk. He's like what a boardroom of adults think kids think are cool. Something's missing. Give him red shoes. There, that's it. We'll sell 1 million of these.
The red shoes are good because they're functional. If you're running at the speed of sound, you need to protect yourself.
Well, the thing about Sonic is blue because he his quills turned blue when he went through the sound barrier for the first time, and they stayed that way. That's totally Japanese.
The bad guy in that game was Dr. Robotnik.
Dr. Robotnik and Sonic were actually old pals, but Robotnik just went bonkers after this lab experiment.
He's like vaguely Bolshevik, this guy, Dr. Robotnik. He looks something like Trotsky, except he doesn't get stabbed in the back of the head with a screwdriver.
That's the classic story of young versus old, good versus bad. Hedgehog versus egg dude.
I mean, he's this cracked out evil genius who designed Sonic's wonderful shoes, ended up, going off on a bender, coming back with syphilis, and turned a bunch of bunny rabbits into evil machines.
Yeah, all the animals were turned into robotic slaves, like I'm a sheep, and what do you want me to do?
And basically Sonic has to be almost like a eco-terrorist, and he has to kill all the robots and get his friends back.
At the end of the level, when you beat the boss, you opened up that shell and all the other little animals came out.
Also the fact that inside all of these evil robot animals were cute little animals, which once you freed would run away and be happy. That was mad cool.
Of course, at the time, 1991, it was your basic 2D side-scrolling video game.
Sonic's one of those games that doesn't need a backstory. You're at the left, you gotta get to the right.
And Sonic could just run really fast across the board, so it wasn't technically about, Mario's all about exploration, and Sonic was more kind of getting into your father's car, drive really fast, and hopefully you don't hit a wall.
It was just so fast. Everything was choo 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 choo. Holy crap, I can't play this.
In Sonic, it's really much more about flow. And the whole game made out of ramps, It's a 14-year-old skate park kid's dream.
Sonic was cool. It was the first game to have idle animation. So basically, if you quit playing, he'd stop, look at you, tap his foot impatiently, and in a way, it's a new level of interactivity.
Now, not only are you controlling the environment, but now the environment's reacting to you or interacting with you.
Some people say that this started with Nintendo, but I think that pretty much Sega invented this one with Sonic.
The one thing I remember most about playing Sonic was when you'd lose your rings. When you'd get hit by an enemy and your rings would just go flying, because you have to frantically run around and try to grab the rings.
Those rings are kind of like your lifeline. It's kind of like when Mario, when you get hit, you turn smaller, but it was a little bit cooler.
But if you collected a certain amount, I believe it was 50, you got to go to this bonus stage. There were these really trippy, Grateful Dead kind of bonus stages where everything was tie-dye.
The one common thread between all the Sonic bonus levels is that they're all really trippy. They all have all sorts of colors, and there's things spinning, and there's a blue hedgehog curled up in a ball. Think about it.
Oh yeah, the bonus stages were the best. I mean, obviously you're not going to die in a bonus level, so you don't have that threat hanging over your head, but they were probably the most addictive.
Sometimes when I'm bored at work, I pretend that the copy room is a bonus stage, and I roll around collecting paper clips and toner.
In Sonic 2, one of the bonus stages was this half pipe. I don't remember, I know you went down and then back up, and then down and back up the other side. So, if that won't make you sit there for an hour, I don't know what will.
I do know that Sonic 2 is the first game to have a worldwide launch date. That's how popular Sonic 1 was.
Normally, they release a game in Japan, see how it does, then they ship it to the United States. Sonic 2 was released worldwide on the same day, and all the little 10, 11-year-old kids were in line at the stores on the same day all around the world.
And that really hadn't been done before, and so that was big news. And Sonic 2 was also the introduction of Tails.
Tails was this fox who was one of Sonic's buddies.
He had two tails and he could like make a helicopter out of it. And he was just like kind of like hunched over while his like butt was flying around. It was kind of a funny animation. Tails was kind of a punk. I didn't really like him. Sonic took him off the streets, keep him out of trouble.
Besides the fact that Tails has two tails, he has a really sexy name. You know, Tails, nice little innocuous fox character, runs around after Sonic, but Tails, his real name is Miles Prower. It's pretty serious.
Tails was the first time that you could actually interact, like have a second person control your little helpy character. And you can like move Tails around. You're like, wow, that was really freaking cool.
Also, Sonic 2 also had a first time you could play co-op.
It was a split screen feature in that your buddy could pick up another controller and play the game at the same time with you. And that was very, ingenious.
And then Sonic 3 came out in 1994, and that was the introduction of Knuckles. And Knuckles was, also a good sidekick. He had a lot more personality than Tails.
Then you had Sonic and Knuckles, which was basically an add-on cartridge.
Sonic and Knuckles had lock-on technology. And what you did was you could put Sonic 1 and 2, which were made years earlier, into the cartridge, and then you could play as Knuckles in the old Sonic games, and Knuckles had the ability to climb walls. And I still consider this one of the greatest technological achievements of man. Like that, how did that work? Pretty cool stuff for 1962 when it came out.
Like any successful mascot, I mean, Sega cashed in. They made a Sonic pinball game, Sonic Spinball. There's a Sonic racing game.
And then miscellaneous Sonic games. You had Sonic for the Game Gear. Yeah, that's a puzzle game starring Robotnik. Sonic Shuffle, which is kind of like a Mario Party style game. There's so many Sonics. I can't really even go through them all.
14 different Sonic games that were out at the time. And you had cartoons, and you had board games, and cereal, and pencils, and pens, and chalkboards, and backpacks, and lunchboxes.
In fact, in the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon on Saturday mornings, Urkel, if you remember Steve Urkel, did the voice for Sonic.
So it's weird that Sonic was designed to be like such an extreme cool character, and then they got Urkel to do the voice of it. Such backwards thinking. Urkel's numbers are testing through the roof. Get Urkel in the recording booth.
That's when the franchise started going downhill. I mean, it was overexposed. It was used. But it was Sega's, flagship. It was their mascot.
They did well with Sonic, and they had some other good games throughout the years, but Sega's consoles are just seem to be doomed. I mean, the Genesis has gone the way of the dinosaur. The Sega CD never really caught on, unfortunately, for Sega. And then the Sega Dreamcast.
I was really heartbroken when Sega announced that they weren't going to make the Dreamcast anymore, because the Sonic franchise definitely would have grown on it. It was really disappointing to see Dreamcast go down.
Poor Sega, as far as consoles go. However, they've been picked up by Nintendo and Sony to make games for their respective consoles, so Sega ended up doing okay.
But it just doesn't feel the same. It just doesn't. It seems like Sonic should be on a Sega system. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, Sonic's still there, but he's kind of like on Prozac or something.
It was a powerful title. It made a lot of money for them. You can't argue with the success.
And now it's okay for Sega because they're making a lot of money with specialty dartboard bars. Actually true.
In the true spirit of Sonic, they just put the red shoes on and they just kept hauling ass.